Hello, and thank you for being at the Acton Public Library. I'm Mary Waterhouse, your director, and with me today we have a longtime resident of our community, Jack Hurd, with us this morning. I'd like to thank you, Jack, for coming.
Thank you for having me over.
Oh, you're very welcome. Jack's been here throughout this morning signing books. He has a new book out called My Lonely Journey. And if he looks familiar, but his name doesn't quite sound correct, that's because when he was growing up here in Acton, his name was Jason Hurd. And so let's go ahead and jump in and get to know Jack and find out a little bit about this book and his life here in Acton and his life beyond. So, like I said earlier, your name once was Jason, now it's Jack. So can you give us a little bit of information about
Yeah, it actually started when I was in high school. At some point, me and a bunch of friends got together and we saw a movie that we really liked, and just being silly kids, you're this character and you're this character, and my character's name was Jack. And so then people outside the circle started calling me Jack, and it kind of just snowballed from there, and next thing you know, I'm Jack. So
that's amazing.
Just started going by it, and it stuck.
Okay, that's great. So it's not really, it's more like your stage name.
Yeah, it's the stage name. It's what I introduce myself as.
Sure.
But to my friends and family, I'm still Jason.
They still know you as that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this book. It just recently got published. When did you receive your copies? Or should I say, when did it get published?
It first went on sale May 14th this year.
All right. Yeah. And what encouraged you to write a book? Have you always been interested in writing? Is it, just something that kind of just struck you and you just ran with it, or how'd that happen?
Oh, I've always, ever since I was a little kid, I remember, being 8, 9, 10 years old, I had a little gray spiral-bound notebook, and I would handwrite these little, I think I called them Adventures with Jason. Stories about me and all my friends going on adventures in Egypt and everything. And so it kind of just was something that I just always loved to be creative with words and everything. So I've fostered it over the years, but in the past probably 5 years is when I realized that's what I really wanted to put my main focus on.
And when did you start writing this book?
I started that November of last year.
Wow, and it's already published. That's amazing. So, what inspired you for this book?
Well, I was always, as we all are, we hear a lot about the 2012, December 21st, what's going to happen. So, since that's something that intrigues me, I know a lot of people are, have a lot of the same questions. So I integrated that with an idea that I had come up with last summer about a man who sleeps through the apocalypse and he wakes up and, what happened. So building on that, I made it about a man who finds himself in the middle of these apocalyptic events and finds himself struggling to find out what's going on, what's going to happen, and can he do anything about it.
Did you have to do a lot of research when you were writing this book?
I did, because I didn't want to be guilty of, having false facts, as it were. So if there was, I wanted to have an element of truth to it, because I love stories that have, they're fictional, but you can also vouch for the facts within the story. So I did my research about, I can't really say much about the plot line since it's a mystery, but I did my homework and backed it up and made sure that everything checked out before I gave it the go-ahead.
All right, so the library just got this book in this morning when Jack was able to come in, and so I'm going to ask him if he'd give us a little bit of a preview of exactly what you could find in this book.
Well, pretty much it starts out with a man who wakes up and immediately finds out that everything he had known is non-existent. And from that point forward, it's, a journey as he tries to figure out why, adjusting to the changes. And the further along he goes, the more he realizes that there's a lot more to it than he initially thought. He finds himself wrapped up in a sort of in a mystery
Mm-hmm.
about an apocalyptic event, and realizes that he's the only one. He's in the unique position of being the only one who can do anything about it. So there's ancient history in it. There's sci-fi. There's a trip down to Guatemala. I like to think it's kind of Twilight Zone, Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
X-Files kind of thing.
Oh, wonderful.
So all those things wrapped up into one.
Now, are you working on another book, or are you just kind of, just absorbed in promoting this, or, do you have one already written? What is this? Is there going to be a sequel to this?
Probably not,
Okay.
because since it takes place around the end of this year
Mhm.
and everything that leads up to it. But I have 3 or 4 projects I'm currently working on. I've taken the past few weeks off to work on the promotion aspect of this. And probably my next project is going to be a collection of all my short stories, the things that I was trying to get published before in magazines and whatnot, but I couldn't. But now that I kind of have I've opened that door, I can make those available. And then after that, I have a project that I started working on, which is, I'd like to think, my magnum opus, which is set locally here in Maine, and everything is set in the central Maine area, and it's a supernatural thriller.
Oh, wow.
Ghosts, and that one has an element of the mystery to it as well. So, and that's going to be part of the trilogy.
Now, with your short stories, are they also thrillerish kind of centered, or is that kind of like the genre that you're interested in, or is it just falling into place that way, or?
I've always been, I grew up and certainly with the Twilight Zone and things like that. Of course, Stephen King, and I'm just fascinated by the concept that things are normal, but something's not quite right. In fact, that's kind of the motto for my work: is something's not right, which I'll probably end up using that as the title for the book. But it's something's just odd. What is it? But so yeah, and they usually end up being supernatural in nature.
Now, for all our young authors out there who may be interested or working on books of their own, give us a little bit of information as to the background. I mean, you wrote this in basically less than a year, and you got it published. So did you find that process hard, easy? Did you send out to a lot of major book companies? Did you just decide to go private? What exactly, how was that process for you?
Tough.
Yeah.
Frustrating, because as a lot of anybody who's tried to take on a project knows, there's such an element, you gotta want it. It's, you gotta want to put the time, the effort, and often money into it, and too many times, you're not in a situation where you can put as much of one or all of them as you can. For me personally, I was in a situation where I could kind of just focus on that. And I knew from the beginning that I wanted to, my big project was the trilogy that I mentioned about the supernatural thriller. So I kind of backtracked a little and worked on my short stories. So I thought, if I can build a following or a name for myself with other works, then by the time it comes to publish that one, then I'll have more of a track record, so to speak. But certainly it was a lot of years of submitting my work and not having it get not accepted.
Right.
But you just got to keep pressing on, which is what I did. Just kind of took it one day at a time, and just always kept writing more, and always wrote down my ideas, and just persistence is the key. Just keep at it.
Do you have other writers that you kind of reach out to, or do you go to different conferences? I know that there have been book conferences that go around the country, I'm sure all over the world, but did you find some kind of let me think, encouragement through that, or was it pretty much your friends and family? I mean, how'd you make it through it?
Definitely my friends and family had so much to do with it. I drew on the support group that I have, which is, fortunately very strong. I have a couple other friends who are writers. One of them has been published, and he really got me back on track.
Oh, good.
And which it's kind of funny because in turn, a friend of mine who is a struggling writer who has not yet made it, he's kind of calling on me the same way I called him. So it's like a chain, you know. But yeah, and through watching or reading things and just constantly drawing my sources of encouragement, and you know, one of my favorite movies is Secret Window, and so that's one of the things that I watch to get me in the mood and also encouraging me, because of course it's about a struggling writer, well, a successful writer who's struggling with his own demons, but just I draw inspiration where I can.
Now you've lived in Acton, and then you left the community and you traveled around a little bit, and now you're located still in Maine.
Still in Maine.
But in another area of Maine.
Yep, up Bodenham is where I currently live.
Okay.
So around the artsy community of Brunswick, so that's a great place for me to be. But yeah, I after high school, I went down to Arkansas where I was going to college. I went there for a couple of years, and I got an opportunity to follow a job down in Florida. And so, you know, when I'm in, I'm all in. So I packed up and I moved down to Florida. You know, spun my tires for a few years down there, and finally got an opportunity to come back to Maine. I jumped on it because I always want to come back. I love Maine. I love the people, and so I came back, and this is where I call home now.
Awesome, awesome. In your book, any type, anything in the character, maybe a little bit towards the writer himself? Or, you know, do you add any little pieces, maybe childhood adventures, or, you know, anything to that effect? Maybe not in this story, but because this one's published.
Right.
Or short stories, or maybe anything you're working on? Do you pull from what's been going on for you?
I do, actually. One of my short stories is actually about a writer who does that too much, and he has a hard time figuring out what's real and what's not. But that was actually inspired by my tendency to inject little pieces of myself. And the character in the book, his name is Kevin Morgan. It actually is a nod to Vincent Price's character in, I think, The Last Man on Earth. Another, obviously, Last Man on Earth, another great apocalyptic film. And so his name is Morgan.
Okay.
And I base them on people that I may know, or are inspired by other characters, and it's kind of a melting pot. I mold them from all sorts of different things. Certainly I have nods to places or people that I've interacted with, or there's a character in there based on an old college professor of mine. And,
oh, cool.
So, yeah, I definitely draw on personal experiences of people.
I don't think I asked this earlier. Is this book written around the area of New England, or is this something that's, or does your character visit New England, or, you know, where exactly is this based in?
That one is actually set in the Midwest.
Okay.
Because the exact physical location wasn't that much of an integral part to the story. But like I said, my the other trilogy, which I'm calling the Samhain Chronicles, that's the first book is based entirely in Maine. So it's just I prefer to set it locally, as I do with a lot of my short stories and whatnot.
Now, if someone was interested in contacting you or finding out more about, you know, what you're working on, or maybe following you as a fan, how would they get in touch with you?
Actually, My Lonely Journey has a Facebook page,
okay,
which is simply facebook.com/MyLonelyJourney. And I post updates about what's going on, future projects, things like that. So, yeah, Facebook is pretty much the portal to it.
It's very true. Do you have an email that you want to share, or it's just pretty much contacting? Can a fan go on to your Facebook page for My Lonely Journey and be able to message you, or is it just mostly just to be a fan of?
Yeah, it's totally interactive.
Okay.
Certainly find the page, like it. You can send me a message through the page. People have done that, so feel free to post a comment or request more information, or just say hi and knock yourself out.
Awesome. Now, I know this is in paperback form, but is there a possibility for a future downloadable style book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm hoping either July or August we'll see a Kindle version
Okay.
or an e-publisher's version be released. So
Awesome.
hang in there. I know I've gotten a lot of requests for it, so if that's people's preferable
Sure.
format, that will be available soon.
Yeah, well, it's becoming very popular anyways, so, it's good, whether it's in the library so that it can be downloaded or whether, it's actually the physical, piece, which is great. So now, moving forward, where do you go from here with your book? And, dates that you might have upcoming where people can maybe do a book signing or at least get to meet you? Do you have anything put in place at this time?
Nothing concrete.
Okay.
I am working on several events that hopefully most of them will come into reality. I know Bodenham has a lot of events going on lately because they're celebrating their 250th anniversary.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So yeah, there's I'm hoping to do a couple events related to that, and starting locally and working my way out at libraries and everything. It's still in the very early stages of publicity, but I'm excited about seeing what my options are out there.
That's wonderful.
And again, the updates will be available on the Facebook page, so as soon as I know it, the followers will know it.
Excellent, excellent. Now, do you the trilogy that you're working on? Did you just say it was more towards the New England area?
Absolutely.
Or okay.
The first one. The first one is set exclusively in Central Maine. It's actually, ironically, I was living in Durham when I was first working on it, which, of course, Stephen King has some ties to Durham, so I thought it would be really cool to keep it central there for those two reasons, because the greatest master of horror, has ties to that land, and that's where I was living at the time. So, but yeah, there's so many places in the area that it incorporates to all the events, local graveyards, local roads, just everything it's all based on real things, real people, real alleged happenings, hauntings and everything. I just based as much of it on fact or alleged fact as I could.
All right. Well, as I said before, the library is carrying a copy of Jack's works, but you can also find it on Amazon. And if you want to have a copy of your own, is there any other place where a person could reach out and get a book besides Amazon?
Well, right now it's mostly online, again, because
Okay.
I haven't, because I'm just starting on the advertising campaign. I'm still working on spreading the word around. But if I also do personalized signed copies, if they're interested in that. So again, it's all about contacting me, and
Sure.
as things develop, certainly I will have more information available.
So that means that if you want your own personalized copy with Jack's signature, then the best place to do probably would go onto Facebook and message him, or just put something out there that you're interested, and I know he'll get back to you as soon as he's able to. Jack, I want to thank you so much for coming back to Acton and
Thank you.
visiting and just being a part of our library. And I look forward to hearing more about you and these up and coming books that you're working on. And
Absolutely.
we wish you all the success.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.